Okay, so I think it's actually working now.
Are we actually live?
I think
Yes.
You might as opposed to figuratively live?
Are you able to see it on your end, Alex?
I mean, I haven't gotten a little pop-up. Do I have to like it first? That's probably help.
Here, refresh the page.
You refresh the page.
I mean, I would, but...
Jesus Christ. Oh, hey, look at that.
Hey, okay.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
up.
you can just click it, make it full screen,
I'll make you full screen.
and I'm just gonna record audio. I'll edit the beginning out, and it'll be fine. All right.
Wonderful.
Take two.
Take two. We on? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show here. I know we started a little late, but welcome
I'm
to
gonna scoot over close to you.
This is
episode
so
2 of Seat at the Table. My name's Caleb. I'm your host tonight. Stephen is our co-host.
Hello.
And I have a special guest along with us tonight,
How's it going, guys?
Mr.
Hello.
James Oni, along with us.
You have to
wonderful-
shake their hand too.
Friend of mine wanted to join in on the podcast also along with the theatrics. I can't even say that word fast.
The theatrics. Very theatrical here.
Right. Also, I have Alex along with us. He's going to be curating your comments this evening for us to be able to deliver a very vocal and
Hopefully
exciting,
streamlined.
streamlined podcast here for you guys tonight.
So as you guys are commenting and chiming in and giving your 2 cents and whatnot, instead of being distracted by a screen, we can just address you, and then my good friend Alex is gonna be shouting out and chiming in on your all's behalf every now and then. So if you hear a random disembodied voice, that is him. Feel free to say hello to him too. And yes, Sarah, if you're watching, it is the Alex that you think it is.
God, please don't.
But yeah, so yeah, we're just gonna try to do things a little bit differently to keep things a little streamlined as we get into the flow of things. I'm sure that there will be some small changes with the first handful of episodes as we kind of get into the flow of things. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Wonderful. Well, I'll go ahead and kick off the podcast tonight by introducing James. James, as I said before, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell the audience here a little bit about yourself?
I moved around a lot, met a lot of people, within the tri-state area. So it's pretty good to being able to get out to the viewers and whatnot. Some of you, might know me, maybe not. I'm happy to be, being able to, come onto the show with you guys and, being able to, give, Q&A to the viewers and such as, your all selves and whatnot from your all's point of perspectives and whatever you guys want to bring over to the show.
Wonderful.
So what do you do? Because I just met him like 30 minutes ago. So what do you do?
I used to work at DHL. I was there for about 4 years. Kind of had to resign to Michigan, so I wanted to kind of start industrial construction myself. And my some of my family members were actually working industrial construction themselves too. So I kind of wanted to get a glimpse of being able to partake into like a type of career such as that, working from negative 50 degrees up to 115 degrees up top. It was a pretty
extreme conditions.
Extreme conditions. Sometimes I kind of wanted to cry being out there. It was terrible. Learned a lot of experiences being and being able to further my future within being able to get into the type of aspect on reading blueprints or being able to construct something that I might need to construct myself and maybe I might need to look into a house one day. I might need to rebuild on top of it. Some type of problem might be wrong with it. I could take care of that.
Okay.
That's some of the beneficials of being able to work construction is to being able to learn those types of things to kind of farther your ability to kind of do things up on your own instead of calling your local maintenance man and he's charging you false prices and stuff like that.
Like $1 million.
Right, like we're gonna have,
Yeah.
we're gonna need a check of $2,000 out of your pocket. It's like, I can go ahead and do it myself. I saved up my money. I came back home. It's good to be home, especially with my brother right here, and being able to, be meted and greeted by.
But you look related.
No.
Especially your stuff as well. Being able to meet new people and being able to be part of your all's podcast. Right now I'm actually working at DHL. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard about it. Ain't really much to tell. It's just basically imports, exports, shipping stuff out for their customers and whatnot. So if you guys want to ship out anything from DHL, I'll take care of it.
There we go.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, pleasure having you on board, James. So we're getting into the spring now. Getting all nice.
This seems kind of spooky. That's more of like a Halloween
We're
gesture.
getting into the spring
It's too
now,
late.
and now everything, the weather should be perking up, to get nice and warm again. I don't know about you guys, but I can't stand the cold.
Stay
Yep.
inside.
I'm pretty slim, as you guys can tell. So, I prefer to have to either stay inside where it's warm or stay inside where it's warm.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I get cold really easily.
I can't deal with it. More of a house cat. I'm just gonna go ahead and stay inside and be into the warmth of my own home.
So we wanted to bring you guys a centralized topic today. We wanted to kind of bring more so of a focal point on a certain subject. We discussed it a little bit as we were preparing for the show today. So we wanted to open up a discussion regarding relationships, love in general, different types of awareness and stuff like that. So I'm going to kick it off with our guest here, James. James, now
The first live proposal. See,
no, not like that.
So quick.
James, in regards of different aspects on relationships and stuff like that, and knowing your background and things of that nature, could you break down for us as far as your opinion on and or your point of view for relationships in general, as far as
relationships can be a pretty sturdy topic, especially whenever people have thought that they met their loved ones, that they're going to be for the rest of their life. And part of that type of aspect is you could be friends or be best friends with somebody for such a long period of time, but
or more than friends.
yeah, sure.
like you could be
Shameless plug.
right, like you could be so close to somebody, but the whole downfall between relationships is like, even if you could be with somebody or be best friends with somebody or kind of be more than that with somebody, you don't know how the chemistry is going to go, because if you get into that type of relationship, then how are you going to aspect yourself within arguments or serious situations and like stuff like that, because you don't know how that type of chemistry is going to be between each other. So it can round out to just about anything, especially if you're that type of person who likes to try to try to control that situation or try to reevaluate that type of situation to try to make two ends meet. You never know how two different types of chemistries are going to be, because the only time you're only with that best friend at the time being of when they're actually happy. You guys are going out, you guys are doing things. You guys are never into those types of aspects of being into like a serious type of situation. So you never know how that type of
It's like hard to gauge that until you
Right.
are there.
until you're actually in that type of person's shoes and seeing how the whole situation is going to play out, because you never know if it's going to be like a truly good outcome or if it's actually going to truly fall apart. You never know how their history is going to be, as far as how their previously relationship was and how they were treated, or there's a million types of different factors to seeing what the outcomes are going to be, to if you're going to agree that you guys are able to get to the footsteps of that type of certain situation, or if it's just going to crumble and fall apart, because it's just how those two people are about their communication and about their maturity level. But other than that, you never know how it's going to be.
You bring up a good point. Maturity and both maturity and communication goes a long way, especially in today's society, where we're talking, you could be in your 30s, 40s, and older and up, and the maturity level may not be there, or the communication level may still not be there, may still be off, and
Right.
I think in regards of dating relationships, right? When it comes to when it comes to gauging somebody to figure out if they are indeed a match for you or not, of course, communication is key. It's always good to be upfront with people. It's always good to be upfront with different individuals. But it's also very, very, very important that you guys are both on the same level, both on the same page. You don't necessarily come across a whole lot of couples that are like that nowadays anymore, and that
That can be difficult to gauge too, especially early on in a relationship, like trying to feel out those different things. And actually, one thing that I'm interested in, as we're discussing this, if anyone wants to chime in with any relationship-based questions, or stories from your own personal relationships, whether they're successful or not so successful. If you had a wonderful date or a god-awful, disastrous catastrophe. Yes. For the love of God, share that catastrophe with us, because I'm all ears. I am very curious, actually. But yeah, share your questions, your stories. The theme of the day is relationships and romance. I'll put a little romance on there too. We'll get some touchy feelies going on. Alex is back there puking.
Keep your touchy feelies to yourself.
You need a trash can, man.
Toilet.
Yeah. So in terms of different avenues and stuff like that, I really do think as far as people coming together, it's always good to be able. It's okay. It's always good to be able to promote good ethics. My grandma always told, because I have two brothers. I have a twin brother and I have a younger brother. And my grandmother, up until she passed, she always, explained to us, always show your worth. And I think nowadays it can be difficult to show your worth, especially, like I said, if you're not on the same page with the individual. If the person's on the same page with you, if you guys aren't aligned with the same type of ethics to be able to make it work. And it can really be difficult to delve deep into a relationship and not and prevent any types of catastrophic means, whether that be multiple arguments, it could be verbal, physical, mental, emotional, any type of distress that the individual is feeling, just different things like that. I feel like it's important to be able to spread that type of spread that type of awareness around. I'm sorry, I can't talk. Spread that type of awareness around, and to be mindful that you may not share the same type of views or opinions as many others.
I like that quote from your grandma. Show your worth, because that kind of, to me, that kind of exemplifies like be the best that you can be. Like show how valuable you are in a way. But also like I feel like in order to do that, it's twofold. So it's like not only being the best partner that you can be for whoever you're with, but also kind of being the best partner for yourself. Because I think oftentimes the best way to be there for somebody else is to also take care of yourself, which is oftentimes the hardest thing. I think that's what a lot of people struggle most with.
Exactly.
At least in my experience personally, but also talking with friends and things, that's the hardest part, is taking care of yourself so that you can be there and be present for somebody that you care about.
Right.
And your grandma sounds like an expert. I don't think I'm an expert. I don't necessarily think that we're experts, but I think your grandma was onto something.
Yeah.
So I like that little quote.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I'm sure she would be appreciative of that as well. We've all come across relationships where there wasn't necessarily the brightest.
Yeah.
The brightest. We've come across relationships where we've had there's been multiple different challenges, multiple different faults that seemed to overshadow all the successes that carried over in the relationship.
I think those experiences can also kind of show us, what we want out of a relationship as well. Like whenever something doesn't work, it's kind of a signal to us that it doesn't work. It's like it's information that we can then apply to our next situation. So even the bad experiences, I think, can still be valuable experiences, which is kind of nice, I guess. That's the silver lining.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like bad experiences can give you a large range of how you're able to handle certain type of situations. Because you don't know how that just like how I brought up the chemistry between two people. Like say if get out of a relationship and you're about to go into a new one, you have that type of past experience on how you handle that type of relationship. So once you get into the like a new type of chemistry with like somebody else that you never really dug in deep into, as far as how bad situations go, you will be able to have some type of like ability to being able to handle that type of situation and how you're able to cope with it, and how you and your other significant other are able to sit down and talk about it, justify, communicate, and being able to push through those types of complications.
It's like you're gaining the experience points in the video games so that you can
Exactly.
Each relationship is like the next level.
Each relationship is like the next level, but it promotes its own different challenges. I even, back in, my previous relationship, where it was, the accolades were so easy to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
It was easy to be able to come across different pinpoints of success. And then
That must be nice.
yeah, no. And the thing about it is that it promoted, it not only promoted success, but it was so easy to be able to it was so easy to be able to quote unquote win because the partner at the time she was right on it with me. You know what I'm saying? And so it's easy when you find success like that.
Mhm.
But when you come across challenges that are that can be stern, that can be difficult to overcome, that can be challenging in a way to where it kind of it
To where it can't
it
be fully
digresses everything.
fully recovered.
Yeah.
Basically, it just can't be fully recovered.
Mm-hmm. And so and those things could cause such a such distress in a way to where it's not easy to fall. It's not easy to. It's more painstakingly to leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, it's kind of like
because you've
remembering
had
what it
all
was
those
to-
successes.
Yeah.
You've had all those successes and everything.
You don't want to give up on something that you loved so much, even when you can kind of see what's wrong with it.
Right.
I guess.
Exactly.
James had he shared some things with me myself where it was similar to my own, but I think the way that he handles some things, the way I handle some things were a little bit different. But I mean, it's very much in a way from your other podcast, Diary of a Trophy Whore, how you explained how
The pinnacle of
the
relationship
pinnacle.
podcasts.
No. I'm just saying. It has a type of similarity. I can't talk tonight. It has a type of focal point to where they're similar. They're similar. You go into a relationship with somebody who you are fully committed to,
You
and
get your bronze trophy.
you get your bronze trophy. So then you continue to. Why? You continue.
It's not. This isn't a race thing. This is,
No, it wasn't. How did you somehow tie that to trophies?
he started. He said it was like trophies.
Well,
No problem.
So
I know I have a problem.
I mean, it kind of is because you think of all the accolades. I mean, especially if you're serious with somebody.
Yeah.
You're
You think of all the good things,
Yeah.
and then it's hard to. Shout out to Diaries of a Trophy Whore if you're interested in hearing more about my serious problem. Episode 2 is launching this month.
I don't think
I have
that's
to
a
do the
problem.
plug, but major spoilers for episode 2. But yeah, sometimes things can trigger memories of really nice times, and sometimes just seeing somebody can remind you of when things were working, when things were great. It can be kind of like looking at the past through like rose-tinted glasses,
Right.
and then it makes it that much harder to separate yourself from it. It's kind of addictive in that regard, I guess. But
Yeah, like especially going through long-term relationships, it could be 2, 3, 4 years. You gotta reminisce, all the good times that you and that other significant had, because especially with all of the bad times and all the good times that you guys have, it's always that type of really hard separation though, to where like you have to face the fact that if that type of relationship was to end, sometimes the other person could be like, I just don't want that to happen, because you're too addicted to the simple fact that you guys have just had too much of good times that'll face off towards the bad times. And that's what really makes everything really hard to embrace into a new relationship. It's not just the build-ups, but it's also the times that you guys had. It's all the past experiences that you guys had to make everything build up to the way that it was before your all's downfall, and it causes a lot of tension, a lot of miscommunication, a lot of bad points that nobody wants to go through, and I feel like that's probably like the hardest part about a unsuccessful relationship, especially whenever you guys may have bad events that go on and you guys are able to prosper to get past that. It's always that point in time when like somebody is not really able to remove those types of bad memories and they stick to their past and they're not able to move forward because of how traumatizing it is. That's basically how most relationships kind of end.
And I know that your mother, because I saw one of the, I know, no. I was saying that I seen
I'm sorry.
a post.
Your
I
mother.
seen, no.
What did you do to my mom?
Nothing. I was saying.
She's watching the show.
Hi, Mom.
No, shout out to Miss Mara. I was saying that I saw your mother's comment to where she said that she shows hard work. She shows her worth for everything that she does, everything that she's been able to accomplish. Her home.
You saw that on that
I saw
tiny
it.
screen?
I saw it on a tiny screen.
Well, shit.
I can't see it from here.
I can't either.
I saw, from her home to her children, her grandchildren, her family. That is what is successful. And you brought a really good point.
Showing your worth in all aspects.
Showing your worth in all aspects. Even when it comes to
My mom's got a lot of worth, too.
yeah. Well, I mean,
All moms do, man.
all moms do.
Well, maybe not
It's
all
a-
moms.
You know what? And
No, I
man,
mean-
my mom was taking care of me for 18 years. I don't even know how she did it.
Shout out to moms.
Shout out to moms in general, because y'all are the real MVP. Like, serious.
Worth.
Like, my mom's, she's been through the ringer, taking care of me and my siblings all by herself, or remotely all by herself. I mean, my mom, if you're listening, shout out to you.
I see some hearts popping up on the screen. Actually,
You know.
speaking of, you mentioned that you saw my mom's comment. I did not. Alex, how are we doing with comments? What are some things that people are saying?
We've got some comments here. We've got a lot of people saying hi and hello.
Hello, everyone.
Before we got to a topic, your mother had already asked, do you believe shop and home economics should be put back in schools?
That's a good idea.
Yes, just to answer that plain and simple.
I think we're pretty much unanimous with that.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, and
If you don't know how to write a check and you're over the age of 18, there's a problem.
I still have to. When I pay rent, I ask the person if
Right,
I'm doing it right.
That's not okay. Other than that, your mom explaining how she shows her worth. Kudos, because we all know it's true. Stephen Strange, shout out to the Lord of the Mystic Arts.
What?
Big caller-
Hold on.
Yeah, Stephen Strange.
You can't just glaze over that.
What do you mean? What?
Who said that?
Stephen Strange. Doctor Strange?
Dr. Strange.
What?
He's
Master of the Mystic Arts, Stephen.
I thought you.
What do you
I thought
think
somebody
said?
commented and said Steven is strange.
I mean, it's also true. But irrelevant.
I was about to get all offended. I'm like, who the fuck? Who do you think you are? Jesus.
No, the name
okay.
of the person is Stephen Strange.
I apologize.
And they stated that a big problem for them is miscommunication.
Okay.
So,
The irony! Oh my god! Did I misunderstand?
Need a tissue?
I need something. Jesus Christ.
Anybody got any
I love
tissues?
that. I love that because I misunderstood. I'm so sorry.
this
Leave it down, Paul.
You can't write that. You cannot write that.
you were the only person
Oh my
laughing
god,
that
I think
hard.
that's hysterical. I think that's hysterical because it wasn't. But no, see, that was maybe miscommunication isn't your problem, Stephen. Maybe you're just misunderstanding. Maybe you're not listening well enough. Like, take this just for example.
Are you
Like-
talking to yourself?
Are you sure you're
Maybe.
talking to yourself?
Maybe I am a little. See, I heard something, or I thought I heard something, and then I responded as if that's what it actually was. No, maybe the best way to communicate is to listen. to truly listen and understand.
Men have a really hard problem doing that sometimes.
I
A lot
fucking
of
do.
times. I know I do.
I'm just-
Case in point,
Put that out there.
Just about killed someone because you thought they called you.
right?
I was seriously about to fight someone.
You was gonna be on first 48 and I do not have any bail money.
I need to calm down.
Bro,
I need some
bro,
more,
get this
some more
going.
cookies.
Probably the last thing you need more of.
No,
That means
I agree though. Miscommunication is a huge point, a huge factor when it comes into relationships. It's a big stifler. It really causes very many issues when it comes to relationships, and it can ultimately cause a relationship to fail. I mean, we've all been through it. I've been through it. I know James has been. I'm sure you have been yourself.
I'm always a perfect communicator. No, I'm a disaster. I am Case in point. God.
But
I'm so sorry.
yes.
I'll just leave. I'll just leave.
No, you don't gotta go. No. It's but I mean, case in point, it is quite true. I am going to go back to your mom's comment real quick, just to dive a little bit into that about home economics. It is really important, to be honest with you, and I'm just being flat out honest. Home economics and subjects that we don't necessarily learn in school well enough to be able to actually thrive outside of the world.
And like a happy relationship needs a happy home.
Oh yeah, true.
And teaching those skills, and just to tie it back to relationships, teaching those skills in school, that is hard to say. I think that can really help.
Well, I mean,
I think it can help
the
make things a little
educational.
easier.
You know the educational system. I mean, they don't necessarily. There's nothing that is supportive when it comes to the outside world.
See, and I have a really big problem with today's education is back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. From what my parents used to tell me, especially my father at the time, he used to tell me, there was a lot of things that school would be able to teach kids for them to be able to walk out of school and be like, I know what to do. Especially mechanic classes. Being able to fix your car, being able to change your oil, being able to focus on having your vehicles have the liability to being able to get you to point A to point B. I think schools nowadays need to teach about financing. They need to teach about different types of politics instead of the same thing that they teach every single year. They need to teach about credit. They need to teach about how to use credit cards.
I could have used some help with credit. Personally.
I mean, it's a lot to go through through 4 years of schooling, but I mean,
Well,
It's
I mean,
basically the
in the
same
very
thing.
least, I know that things are different a little bit now, but in the very least, at least give someone the tools that they need to find that information.
Right.
Because we have so many resources, I think, to be able to access that information and to teach ourselves. But I think schools. I mean, I haven't been in school for a hot minute, so there's that. But
You haven't been in school for a long time.
I didn't know what this meant.
I'm pulling up a seat at the table here.
And welcome
we're
to
starting
your
to
seat at the
develop.
table as well. Also, audience, I also want to bring you in alongside Alex. We also have Miss Rachel as well. Pulling up her seat at the table here, back in the studio. Well, you guys deserve a clap. How about that? Huh?
All right, a clap for Alex and Rachel.
Yeah.
But behind you, audience, behind the camera, are two remarkable human beings who I love very much, but not in that way.
Even more remarkable is how I have this
in a deeper way.
condensating iced coffee here and a stack of coasters. Yet for some reason, these coasters aren't being talked about.
I'm gonna go back on topic before you guys go way off left field again, as entertaining as it's been just watching that. My question specifically to you guys is what makes you feel qualified to answer anything about education, being that you've been out of it for so long and school does look so different now from when you guys went. As a person who teaches in schools now, it's very different than when we were in school.
Ooh.
That's a
Everything.
good question.
That's
That's
a
a very
good
good
question.
question. Because, like, I mean, that's why I was like, I haven't been in school, so I'm not in as good of a position to be able to say really anything about the state of education. And by the
Not
same
now.
token, Mom, you haven't been in school in a while either. So while yes, it's easy to agree, yes, they should teach these things in school. I honestly don't even know if they're teaching these things in school.
I mean,
to be completely honest.
So let me, and I'm just going to interject for just a moment to answer your question, Miss Rachel, and as well as the audience, at least to the best of my ability. I feel as if education has certainly dialed down. Now, I mean, I don't necessarily know either. I've been out of school for a long time.
What do you mean by dialed down?
Well, in terms of the terms of education. Now, I'm not saying that education isn't there. There is a problem with reception. There's a problem with children, teenagers not necessarily being receptive to teaching. Which I think is also a problem. I mean, if you look at the situation of education at a demographic standpoint, and even just a real world perspective, we're talking countless number of kids who doesn't necessarily know on different topics of education and things of that nature, and a lot of it has to do with themselves not being receptive to teaching.
So what makes you say that students are not as receptive to teaching?
Is it reception or is it approach? Because that's something you got to ask in this topic here. You've got kids that we can say it's the kids not being receptive, but it could also be depending on the student and also the teacher,
because of
how they're
they
teaching
may
it.
have some type of
Everyone learns differently, right? As they
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
So
true. I mean, I think it might be. I think it might be a little bit of a mixture. I think, in all fairness, I think it might be a little bit of a mixture. I think that there are kids that just don't want to be receptive to teaching. I mean, I've been in classes, and I haven't been, non-receptive, but I've been in classes where my fellow students or fellow co-students or whatever, however you would call it. I mean, they wouldn't necessarily be receptive to students teaching. They wouldn't want to sit there for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and learn the topics of the day. But then again, I also do think that it is based off of the teachers too. Even when I was in middle school and things like that, when it came to certain standpoints, because I mean I'm a history guy. I absolutely love history. And when it came to we would learn about, of course, Christopher Columbus, and we would learn about French Indian Wars.
Most of the stuff that I learned about Christopher Columbus was a bunch of bullshit.
Well, yeah,
Just throwing that out there.
yes, true. That's true.
Just full of lies.
That's true. That's true. It is full of lies. But what I'm saying is that I mean we
I hope they change that. I hope that
yeah.
in the very least they've addressed that.
We've come across, I mean, at least in my point of school, probably your points and your points as well. I mean, we've come across such a streamlined of, I guess, I don't necessarily, I guess I would call it watered down social studies. To where it wouldn't necessarily be the truth, but it would be enough to the point to where it would just be able to get you by to the next grade. Like I would ask, because I love African American studies, and I recall asking my 8th grade teacher several times throughout my little semester of taking her class, when we would, learn on other studies different than just the French Indian Wars, King Henry, and information such as that. And so she kept on telling me it was the next grade, next grade, next grade, next grade, and I would give her that type of time, thinking, okay.
Oh, you'll learn about that next time.
Right,
Don't
you'll
worry.
learn about that next
You'll
time.
learn about it next year.
Next time
year,
comes, next year comes,
And then you
still,
graduate.
and you still never learn it. And so I think it's come to a certain, especially in instances like this, to where it's more so important to teach yourself in terms of different types of studies, like home economics, like different studies, African American
See,
studies,
that's
or if
something-
you like Asian American studies.
That's
or,
something that I was kind of touching on earlier. Was I think, at least, how I feel the shift may be, and Rachel can probably confirm or deny this, but I feel like it's less about specifically like telling a student this or that. I mean, I'm sure in some cases, but I think the number one most important thing is just giving them the tools to find information. That's the most. I feel like that's the most important thing, especially in modern day. Is you don't have to know everything. That's, if anything, that's a relief. But if you're able to intuitively find the answer, if you're able to intuitively critically problem solve, if you're able to use the tools and resources that you have available in order to teach yourself, that is valuable. Do you think, Rachel, that schools are able to accommodate that? Do you think that that's happening, or?
So, what I mean when I say school is different from what you or me experienced is that it's moving on the computers. Students sit and they have the normal course curriculum, something that we would be familiar with, but it'd be delivered online, where students work at their own pace and the teacher is more of a supplement. Kids sit down in front of the computer, they work through the courses, they submit homework assignments to the teacher, which then evaluates. But these courses are designed by big tech companies like Google and Facebook. So I think that's kind of interesting and a shift from what we've experienced. We learn
That
things
is
from
interesting.
McGraw-Hill, they're learning things from big tech, and you're not getting that social interaction so much because you're supposed to be on the computer, but it's supposed to allow the student to work at their own pace and kind of sort of focus on things. They can spend more time with subjects that interest them, not necessarily more content, but you can spend more time and learning it more in depth if you want. And then you have that teacher there to supplement when you need help, so that frees up more of the teacher's time. And that's how I believe it's different. At its core, you still see maybe classes that are less practical for every day. You don't see home ec, you don't see, and I'm talking with mostly like middle school range because that's what I'm most familiar with. I know that high schools in northern Kentucky haven't exactly caught up to the all-tech. There are still very much traditional classrooms here and there. But in a middle school classroom, that's what that looks like. It's a very tech-forward approach, but the information is still being spoon-fed. It's not necessarily about being able to problem solve, because I agree with you. Moving towards that direction, that's the future, because that's what jobs demand. Everyone remembers that math teacher when they were little saying, "What are you going to do when you don't have a calculator? You won't always carry a calculator in your pocket."
Mm-hmm.
Joke's on you,
Here we are with iPhone.
bitch.
He's like, honestly, it's kind of weird with school because back when I was in school, going through freshman to senior, it's kind of like I had the same textbook during each subject sitting on my desk. They'll be like, hey, turn to page 57. Also, we're gonna read about the cells. I already learned about this shit fucking last year. But I'm sorry, but I'm not doing it. I'm like, if you really want to teach your kids, to my opinion, because there's a lot of kids that are out there that have learning disabilities, that probably have really high ADHD, just like I did myself. Like I had to get put on prescriptions because I could not sit still. I could not focus. I've always believed that having everything, hands-on was always the best way to being able to learn. It didn't matter what type of subject it was, either if it was social studies, science, geography, algebra, mechanic, even financial classes. Like during my time in school, I would have to go and go into special classes for teachers to kind of help evaluate me in what I needed to learn. But after I was done with my work, I would ask them to please teach me, the real things that are outside of, these class walls. They taught me about mortgage. They taught me about how to write my checks, how to call, people to pay my bills and stuff like this and all that. But nowadays it's like, we're going into electronics. We're moving everything to electronics and computers. And I kind of feel like that has a little bit of like a disadvantage, because it's not like, we can pull the whole class together to being able to do something. It's more like we're going to give you an assigned seat to go sit at a computer now. So
Well, I feel like
so everything's virtual.
I feel like by that same token,
Well, here, hold on a second, because
oh,
just based off of what James is saying here. So, Steven, your mom actually commented saying, when she graduated, the day she left school, she knew how to kind of just do what she needed to get through in life. So, how to find a job, cook, make things, fix things, care for a child, things of that nature, And then she, again, like James said, it's more about that hands-on approach, and kids aren't getting that nowadays when it comes to the technology education system that's going on now. And then it's like a Miss Edith Orndorff says, I think we should get back to basics, home economics and trade school. Nowadays, the studies prepare you for college, not necessarily for life. So, and then kind of going back to what you said, like learning what a mortgage is or anything like that, you don't get that information unless until you're like, oh, I need to go do this thing.
Right, ask mommy and daddy how
Ask mommy
to
and
do
daddy,
it.
or like just going to the bank and asking someone, what is this thing that I apparently have to do?
so Rachel
Rachel
has,
has a question
has something
on
that
that.
she wants to add. She's doing a little dance with her hands.
Raising my hand, because the big argument in education is, where do we draw the line between things that school should teach you and things that parents should teach you? Where do we draw that line that, all right, the people in your home life should teach you how to live in a home, while the
Right.
people at your school life should prepare you for future school? There's a thinking of that
Yeah.
way, like if your dad's writing a check, how hard can it be to say, look, I'm writing a check, here's how you write a check? Or if mom's cooking a steak, look, I'm cooking a steak, this is how you cook a steak.
That is a really good point too, because I feel like a lot of parents, they're like, oh well, back in my day we would learn everything in school, but then also
Because for a generation of
I feel like
families.
oddly enough, that same generation is highly critical of parenting nowadays. They're like, oh well, you just let other things raise your kids. You put them in front of the TV, you put them in front of the computer, you send them to school, but you don't raise them yourselves. So like, yeah, there are those lines that are being drawn, and I mean, there's also like religion studies. Some people don't think that certain religious aspects should be taught in school. They think that that's something that the family should handle, and vice versa. Sexual education, which, no offense to my parents, please don't hate me. I'm gonna get in trouble for this.
There we go.
Okay.
If I relied on my parents for my sexual education, I would. This is not a pun. I would be fucked.
That was a pun. You did
That was a pun.
No,
Don't lie.
I realized in the middle of it, but I didn't know how else to word it.
There's so many, so many other ways.
But also, by that same token, even in my sex ed class, they did not talk at all about safe gay sex. They did not touch that with a 10-foot pole. They were like, oh, nope, gay sex does not exist. And then we made the pregnant lady teaching us cry.
I think that there is a break.
It's a long
and
story. I'm just gonna close on that one.
I think there's a break, and there's a noticeable break when it comes to educational value of where that line is.
Well, like, how much do we
because
trust our parents to teach us what we need to know as well?
Right.
And,
well,
and-
that's the reason why. That's the reason. Not to cut you off.
no, I
sure.
cut you
But-
off. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, I'm just saying that that's the reason why it's important that if our parents can't teach us, it's important to educate ourselves. You know,
Or
We
best
have-
schools provide that option.
if they provide that option. I mean, it's almost like everything has to be set off to post-secondary education, if that.
Well, I mean, we live in a society where I feel like parents are more likely to both be working now because the economy kind of demands it. So maybe they don't have as much time, and maybe the shift towards using the computers in classes, like what Rachel said, allows the teachers to have more time to be able to help a student if they have questions. Maybe since they're working at their own pace, if they get done, before somebody else, then they can actually, the teacher can have more of a one-on-one interaction with the student, which could then kind of fulfill that sort of parent requirement, I guess, or parent relationship. I mean, I honestly, I considered a lot of my teachers growing up to be almost like other parents as well. So, being able to free up that time for teachers might allow them to step into that role a little bit more. Because, this is going to sound really shitty, and I apologize to any parents that I offend, but I don't know how much I trust all parents to be able to objectively provide the information that children need, because there are certain biases and things like that. I know that growing up I would have been steered towards a specific thought process, and because I had diverse experiences in school, because I was taught different things, I was able to have a bit more of a broader spectrum of thought. And Rachel was doing a little dance again. She has a comment. I wish they could see your dance because it's pretty wonderful. She's a good dancer.
No one wants to see my hand grabby dance. That's just
I want to see your hand
only
grabby
for
dance.
the people in this room here live in your studio audience. So everybody in this room is a byproduct of learning all of their at-home skills by their parents.
Mm-hmm.
The way we grew up, what you were saying was we didn't get that, and what you're saying also is if I relied only on my parents, I'd be screwed. But you came out okay. You
That is
figured
true.
gay
That is
sex
very
out.
True. I did figure gay sex out. It was an awful trial and error experience, but I figured it out, and I just recently got tested for AIDS, and I am negative. So that's good. So I did something right.
Good job.
So I was
Very
able.
good, very good.
Not that there's anything wrong with if you are positive for AIDS, but just saying, I was able to avoid the thing that so many people are afraid of.
So
that's
that
nice.
stigma within the community.
That's a topic for another day.
That's topic fun. So I'm going to go ahead and did you happen to have some coasters? I know that you had something that you wanted to share as well, as far as
That was a great
as far
segue.
as the
I actually have
Uh,
something to say real quick.
yeah, go ahead.
As far as children having building their acknowledgement up with their parents and stuff like that, because to my opinion, within the schools and whatnot is kindergarten. That's your first basic steps towards life. Elementary, that's how you start to learn how to do your multiplications and your divisions, a little bit of your science, and, to kind of get a grasp of a little bit of how history prospers from back then. Middle school and high school is all about what you are truly supposed to learn for when you are supposed to get out into the real world, and sometimes I feel like you don't always get that because a lot of information that you have to pertain to is your mother, your father, your aunt, your grandma, your grandpa, because of the things that they learned from their past families and also the tree branch of their families also. So it's almost like schools don't get to really teach you to being able to survive outside of the school walls, because the moment that you step out of school and you don't have the capability to go into college, you're asking yourself, well, what am I supposed to do? Get a 9-to-5 job, And then after you do that, you have to find something that pays more. You have to find something that's going to sustain you more because your parents aren't wanting to, have you live under their roof forever.
Well, I think that's something that Rachel touched on when she mentioned that we are products of kind of relying on our parents
Yes.
to teach us those
Everybody
things.
is.
So I mean that's great. That we are able to survive based on what our parents taught us. That's awesome. I will say, not everybody has that luxury. Not everybody has that
that's true.
privilege.
That's
Not everybody has parents who give a shit.
I would like to take this moment to read out one of your comments
Oh.
that really sings to this from a Miss Edith, who said, "As
Hi,
a
Mom.
single parent, I didn't depend on my educational system to teach my children anything. I taught my children all I deemed valuable." And I really would like to support that hustle.
Very, very good comment, and it's true.
Thank you, Edith,
Um,
for being awesome.
And it's true. She, and it's based off of. I mean, if you're all depending on what the situation is. How you grew up and everything. I mean, me myself, I've grown up in a single family household. My mother supported, like I said, supported me and my three siblings, and still does. As a mother. And so she upholds to that. Anything and everything that she has deemed valuable, she upholds to that. And so those are the things that she instills in us versus what the educational system may think or what the educational system may say.
I think that's awesome, and I think I did sell my parents a little short earlier. When I said I don't know if I trust parents to necessarily provide all of the tools. What I was trying to allude to was, some people don't have as reliable of parents or a parent figure in their life even, and that can be a big detriment. I am so grateful that I have parents who not only gave a shit, but also got me to where I am today. That is awesome. I mean, Jesus, I'm literally, within the next couple of days, I'm going to sit down and chat with my parents about, a financial plan for myself to get myself out of debt. Like, they are there for me, and that is wonderful. I wish everybody had that.
Yeah, because like a lot of things that you have to take into consideration is once you get done with school, there's, your parents can only teach you so much to where they can only give you as much acknowledgement as they possibly can from what they've learned. But a lot of it comes from your experience and how you approach everything. Because I mean, when I did everything, I left home. I started, I slept on an air mattress and everything. I was struggling really, really bad. But because I was starting to learn and I was starting to get that acknowledgement, I was starting to come off of that. And it was starting, because of what I was doing wrong, or it might have been because I was doing something wrong. It was probably because I was trying to get myself out of that type of struggle. Now I know what I'm actually supposed to do to being able to kind of fulfill my happiness and being able to come back into a bigger home, to feeling like I was more of a successful person. Because a lot of times now within this economy, you see a lot more poverty than like everything else, and that's because everybody is trying to make their way to becoming something bigger and better within themselves. And a lot of times is you have to go through that struggle without any type of acknowledgement and figuring out what am I supposed to do to being able to get out of this. Sometimes maybe working from a 9-to-5 type of job isn't really the way to do it. Sometimes it could be overtime. Sometimes it could be trying to get that type of partner to be with you to kind of help each other build your all's foundation to being able to get to where you want to be.
Sometimes it's setting up a makeshift studio in the guest room of your apartment and
Right.
asking for
Right.
donations on a podcast so that we can support ourselves.
Yeah.
With an extra table that I still don't understand why it's here.
They don't see the second table.
But why do we have the second table?
So the iPad could be further back and they can see us.
Well,
So the show is called Seat at the Table. There are actually 2 tables. So it's really seat at the tables. Maybe I have 2 tables because everybody has a seat at the table, and so now there's more room for more people. There we go.
That,
I mean,
okay.
well, like that would make sense
Alright.
if like we were filling all sides of the first table.
You shut your whore mouth.
So, Stephen, did you happen to have any thing that you want to share in terms of
I-
donations?
I did have some things for the donations. First, though, I made a grave mistake.
Uh-oh.
I broke a promise.
Oh.
Can I be a sound clip for like future shows?
that was very good. So, like, hear me out. I didn't entirely break the promise, but it seems like I did because a week ago I promised Michaela that I would wear her shirt on the second episode of Seat at the Table, and I am wearing it. But this entire freaking time I have had this jacket zipped. So I'm gonna take a second and talk about To Die For. So, my friend Michaela, which if anybody has followed More Than Friends, you know that Michaela has worked with us in the past. She does tie-dye as her own business, and she made this shirt. For those of you listening on audio, it's a tie-dye shirt, in case you couldn't guess. But it's nice. It says More Than Friends on it, which looks probably weird and mirrored in the stream. But anyways, she does a great job. She also, as we alluded to earlier, much like a lot of us, could use the extra money. So if you would like a custom tie-dye t-shirt, she also does tie-dye shoes. She'll dye anything. Then on Facebook, look for To Die For. Die is D-Y-E, To Die For. I can put a link in the comments after the show if you want. And I'll put a link in the show notes for audio listeners. Reach out to her. She does a great job, and she's a good friend, and I'm glad that she made this shirt for me. So, sorry, Michaela, I wasn't wearing the shirt the entire time, but I still gave you a shout-out. I was still wearing the shirt, but it wasn't visible the entire time.
He was still wearing the shirt.
But still, so I kind of broke the promise, but not entirely. But still, I wanted to give the shout out. I wanted to try to steer some people towards To Die For. So there's that. But also, we have our own things, which I will show you now. So hold on. Keep them entertained while I grab the things.
Well,
This is.
I'm so prepared.
Alright, I gotta take Chandler.
Okay. Well,
I'll be back.
You might want to
Yeah.
explain some of the drawings. Well, not drawings, but some
I just gotta
of the
drop them
images.
back off at the apartment so we can drop them off.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
well, some of the giveaways that we do, well, I guess I'll actually wait for Stephen.
Well, the idea was that you would talk while I'm trying to get this thing ready, but
Oh,
that's
okay.
fine.
Okay, so all right. So some of the giveaways that we happen to have tonight is some that we've already have explained to you guys here during the first episode a couple weeks back. But we do have one gift or one giveaway gift that is really nice.
So, sorry for the delay. I had to open the box. Up until now, this is brand new, unopened. So I guess it's now twice open because I opened it open. Anyways, this is new. It's basically new. But anyways, so we're gonna do a little giveaway. So if you donate, every dollar that you donate enters you in for a chance to win these items. So the big item, I guess, is a PlayStation 1 controller statue. I know not everyone is gamers, but I ran this by Caleb and he was fine with this being the item, so there's that. So yeah, it's just a nice little controller statue. It's got its own little stand. It's nice.
It's groovy. It's groovy.
So yeah, it's just the original PlayStation controller. It's a collectible statue. It comes with the package and everything. So
Does the buttons actually click in?
the buttons don't click, so it's not that fancy. Maybe in the future we'll be able to give away.
What a wasted
control.
opportunity.
Maybe in the future we'll be able to give away a statue with pressable buttons.
And Miss Marmo, we're still working on getting those bobbleheads or dolls.
Dolls, yeah, dolls, bobbleheads, whatever. We're gonna. If you donate, anyone, it helps us better afford more branded products and things. So if you want to see my, you probably don't want to. If you want to see Caleb's face on anything, let us know and donate. Help fund Caleb's face. We'll have a Caleb body pillow for you to do whatever you want.
Right.
Sorry, I apologize to your mom. That's probably not anything she wanted to think about. But anyways, so if you donate, it enters you in for a chance to win not only this PlayStation controller, but also, I talked about these on the last show, a More Than Friends button, a More Than Friends coaster, and, this is new, a More Than Friends bumper sticker, or fridge magnet, whatever you prefer. I'm using mine as a bumper sticker.
He does have a bumper sticker on the back of his car.
And it looks pretty awesome.
I'll go ahead and donate $1.
Holy shit, we have our first donation for
Which one would you like, sir?
Well, hold on, this is an entry to win.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's-
Every
that
dollar.
is
So we're not
entry.
giving enough for free. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
That's
every
mine.
dollar
Wrong
that you
message.
donate,
Wrong message.
every dollar that you donate enters you in for a chance to win. So now,
So right now it's like 100% chance that it's yours.
but I mean, that's still pretty good odds. If you donate $1, that means you have 50% chance. That's pretty good. There's only one donation so far. So how do you donate? That's a good question. You can donate on mtfproductions.com. If you click on the little about thing on the top, then on the bottom of that screen that loads up, there's a little donate button. Really nice and simple. You can also donate to, I guess, me directly on Facebook Messenger. I didn't mention that last time because I didn't think about it, but that works too. And I'm pretty sure the PayPal still works. So if you do, and we'll figure it out. You can also send donations on PayPal through bemorethanfriends@gmail.com. So yeah, every dollar. So if you donate $5, you get 5 chances to win. If you donate $1 million, you get 1 million chances to win.
Which is very easy to win all 5 prizes.
Yeah, and this is totally worth $1 million. Maybe if the button's pressed. Maybe if the button's pressed. But seriously though, every donation means so much. We did get a pretty generous donation last show, so we appreciate that. You know who you are. So thank you very much.
Thank you much
Everybody
for that.
who donates, that helps us continue doing these shows.
Sure does.
It helps More Than Friends as a whole support more artists and independent creators like Caleb, like myself. It helps us fund more projects, more random products, all kinds of different things. There's a lot of stuff that we want to do in the future, and your donation helps us get closer to those goals. So thank you very much. And yeah, that's all for the donation stuff.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And I wanted to just say thank you for bringing me on to the show.
Yeah,
It was a
Oh, thanks
pleasure.
for being here.
Thanks for being
It was a
with us.
pleasure to meet you guys. Hopefully, at some point within the future, I'll come back on. Whenever you guys might have another opening.
Well, there is always
it
a
was a
seat at
pleasure
the
to meet
table.
Always.
Pleasure to have you see on the
Hey,
table.
hey, thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and wrap up shop. From myself and Steven, our guest speaker James, and to our helpers, Mr. Alex and Miss Rachel, and you as our lovely audience, we definitely appreciate you guys for coming on board with us tonight. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next episode of Seat at the Table. Thanks for pulling up a chair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Is
night.
it weird to clap at our own show? It's fine. It's fine.
I'll be your woo girl.
You're always my woo girl.
Oh, no. Let's go.
I have to press the button. This is the awkward part where it's like. I think it's like it's weird.